Archaeologist, specifically field archaeology. 99% of the time you find absolutely nothing. It's often physically demanding, sometimes grueling, the pay is shit, there are no benefits, you have to constantly travel, there's very little stability. I could go on. Source: have worked in CRM, cultural resource management, archaeology for several years now. Yep, came here to say this. Was a Chevelle bum for several years in the southwestern US. Was fortunate that I worked on mostly interesting sites, where we found quite a bit, and got to spend time outdoors in some gorgeous landscapes, but only lasted so long due to living out of shitty hotel rooms, not making enough to afford a permanent apartment, can't have a pet or friend so outside work, alcohol abuse is rampant and celebrated. One co-worker did the math and figured out we didn't make enough to afford enough food to replenish the expended energy each day. I strongly suspect being a spy doesn't involve half as many high-tech gadgets and spontaneous sexual intercourse as I've been led to believe. One former member of the CIA said the most unbelievable thing about James Bond was that he never had to file an expense report. From what I've understood, being a cowboy it's really awful. Gunslingers and bandits too. Literature often portrays them as folk heroes who wore flashy, studded suits and gun belts, and traipsed around towns like they owned them, striking fear into civilians and lawmen alike. However, the reality of the matter is that these guys were nothing more than common criminals and fugitives who were always on the run, could never settle down and relax, and often had only a rope or bullet to the head to look forward to at the end of their incredibly short lives. Game tester. I worked as a game tester for EA for almost 3 years. Here's what it's like. Imagine a game type you don't like. Maybe soccer games. Maybe an RTS. Whatever. You now play that game 8 hours a day. But you don't play it. You test it. So let's imagine an RTS. You are told to test the resource acquisition systems. All you do is click around and make sure your guys can mine gold and harvest lumber. You click around the map and mine in forest. There is no combat, they've turned that off for your testing. There is no story, because you just flick from level to test the resource system. You test using one guy. You testing using 100 guys. You make sure no other units can gather resources. You try blocking your own guys. You try killing your own guys. 8 hours a day. Every day. 4 weeks. You enter dozens of bugs. They put out a patch that fixes the bugs. You have to retest every level and every bug to make sure they're all fixed. That's game testing. I always had a strong suspicion that it wasn't just playing FPS games before their release all day with your co-workers. Working on a film, if your crew, it sucks long hours for what seem like very slow progress on the picture, lots of standing around waiting, etc. You arrive well before everyone else and leave after everyone else. If this is an indie production you also may have to beg/chase down for your pay at the end of each weeko, and when the film wraps, you're now unemployed. I'm a sound effects editor, and have to say, post-production is much more forgiving. Love my job. I probably wouldn't last long on a set though. Anything in modern day publishing. How many television shows and movies must I watch where the plucky young upstart graduates from college and gets a job at the magazine or newspaper of their choice and is respected and can make a living? The pay sucks, you're in constant danger of being laid off when your pub folds, usually, and it's usually a pretty corporate environment where you're tasked with multiple jobs for little hope of advancement. The names high up on the mastheads are usually those of rich people, and it's because they started off rich and could afford to stay in the industry. I got an offer for my dream internship once at a publishing company right out of college. Unpaid. In New York. Yeah, I can afford to move to a place with 5 times the cost of living than where I'm for a full-time job for no money. Sometimes I wonder where I'd be if I'd jumped at the chance. Then I realize, homeless in New York. Everyone used to think it was awesome that I worked in live sports TV. 70% of the people I worked with were miserable pricks with overinflated egos, and then there were the athletes. I knew several people that worked at my local TV station. They all basically said I got 5 minutes of training, and then I was editing the live news with no other instruction beyond, if you screw up, you're fired. Apparently the turnover rate, both voluntary and otherwise, was brutal. Ballerina. Fortunately you won't be doing it for very long. Lawyer. Number of historic, life-changing, precedent-setting cases participated in. 0. Number of angry, self-entitled, abusive clients wanting to screw each other over. 842. Number of pages of paperwork that sucked up free time and social life. 84,836. Agreed. As a family law attorney you see the worst shit. People squabbling over pots and pans, using kids as cannon fodder in the emotional battlefield, and clients grieving you when you make them pay the bill. Glad I got out. Journalist. Expectation. I'm gonna be the next Hunter S. Thompson, and write compelling feature pieces with a unique voice, and get paid to travel the world. Reality. Talking to my editor about how my contact from the cat fashion show won't call me back or do an interview unless we pay them $80 or adopt 2 cats. What kinda cats we talking? So all of the jobs then. Oh, you hate your job. There's a support group for that, you know. It's called *EVERYONE*. We meet at the bar. Apparently lifeguard, because nobody can find them anymore. Hey man, want to be responsible for a ton of lives for minimum wage in the hot sun? You're also going to be mistaken for a babysitter, mocked for trying to create a safe environment, and pressured to cover your unreliable coworker shifts. Where do I sign up? Well, this thread is insanely depressing. Are there any good fields to go into? Lol. The lesson is that a job is a means to support your lifestyle. If it depresses you, then don't put all of your self-worth into your career identity. Strive for work/life balance and develop some hobbies. Architect. You think you'll be designing big fancy iconic buildings, warehouses, walmarts, strip malls, and box apartments all need architects, and that's probably what you'll end up doing. I always wanted to pretend to be an architect. Computer game development, especially testing. That is the end of an industry that is mostly ass. I was gonna say video game development too. People think it's all about creativity and making something cool and fun, when the reality is a lot of bullshit. Treat him like shit, use him like toilet paper. Reading the comments, all jobs really sucks. Honestly, there's a whole lot of office jobs out there that are pretty unremarkable, but the pay is okay to excellent. You get to work in an air-conditioned office. Job security is pretty good. It doesn't wreck your body. It's usually not too stressful, and you don't have to be available outside of office hours. Also, you may be able to get away with only doing 1 to 4 hours of real work every day. It's not the most glamorous life, and it's often not particularly meaningful work, but the work conditions are pretty good. Lawyers. Everyone thinks that it's like Suits. Reality. Reading papers for hours and running behind clients in order to get them to come to the appointment. Source: my dad. Clients? What are those? Current big law associate.